Hi, it's all legal audience. I am here today with a fellow classmate from our alma mater, Southern University Law Center. He is now practicing in the Dallas, Texas area, civil rights attorney. You also do personal injury, Daryl?
I do.
All right. Well, we
Yes.
have with us this evening Mr. Daryl K. Washington. Daryl, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Janine. It's a pleasure to connect with you on your legal show. And, you know, it's been so long since we've had the opportunity to talk, but I just knew when we were in law school together, I always knew that your future was going to be bright. So just to have the opportunity to come on your show and just talk about some of the things that we're currently dealing with, it's great.
I appreciate it. And I feel the same way about you. Like I said, I'm reading about you and, news articles, TV interviews. So it's just my honor to be able to talk to you today. So I know you've been busy. You are heavily involved with the National Bar Association. I know that you are working on a few civil rights cases that are making, headline news these days. So I want to just delve right into that. I want to talk about the state of civil rights practice in 2020.
It's a good question. I know we just did a interview with NBC News, and one of the things that we touched upon was the fact that it seems like these cases are becoming more and more. And the one story I gave a couple of years ago when 15-year-old Jordan Edwards was killed by a Box Springs police officer. That was a case where the police officer actually got convicted of murder and sentenced to prison. So
Right.
As you know, that's not something that we see very often. So during the interview with the news outlets, one of the things I said was, I think this was the beginning to the end. Because police officers now had the opportunity to see another officer get convicted of murder. So it was our hope that, officers weren't going to be so quick to pull that trigger.
Right.
Then, here comes the Botham Jean case. I just thought with Jordan, it was over and we lose Botham. Such a fine young man. Botham had so much to offer this world.
Right.
The sky were the limits for this guy. And he was at home eating ice cream, watching a football game when Amber Geiger walked into his apartment and took his life. That case there, I think, shocked the country because now they were no longer able to have that narrative of somebody that was a criminal or somebody that was violating the law. This guy was in his house and he was killed.
Right.
And we were able to get a murder conviction against that officer. So now Dallas County had not gotten a murder conviction against a police officer while he committed a crime while on duty in over 40 years.
Wow.
So we thought, we really had made some headway. And then 1 month after Amber Geiger was convicted of murdering Botham Jean, we get the Tatiana Jefferson case in Fort Worth.
Right.
So it's like, you say to yourself, will this ever stop? We have George Floyd in Minnesota. You have Rashard Brooks that happened shortly after.
Right.
Now I'm dealing with Mr. Barnett, a 25-year-old kid that was killed in the Iberia Parish jail. So you wonder, when will this ever stop? And the only way Janine and I have been able to respond to this is, I think the problem starts from the top. And I think we won't see any changes until after November when we get rid of that current president we have.
Right. And this is what I have been saying for the past few months. And like you said, I, along with the rest of the country, have, watched these senseless murders take place at the hands of police officers. As well as, just white individuals. Let's just keep it real.
Right.
But specifically the police officers, I keep saying that until these individuals who are, protected, from liability or start to be held accountable for their actions, nothing is going to change.
Correct.
And like you said, it starts from the top. It starts from the top on down.
Right.
And the other thing is that you're right, the election is coming up and it's so important to vote. And the other piece of that puzzle are the district attorneys, who are the individuals who actually pursue these cases.
Correct.
So until you start paying attention or actually go out and cast your ballot for the district attorney and do your research into that individual, I don't see how anything is going to change. And that's just my opinion as a lawyer, from a legal perspective.
Right. I think it's more than just an opinion that you're giving, Janine. I think it's factual. There's so much that's taking place, and people don't take the time to educate themselves on the system. Not only is voting for the district attorney important, but your city council members. There are so many people who have the opportunity to bring about change, and they don't.
Right.
I often say that a lot of these people, when they're running for office, they make all these promises to their constituents, and somehow once they get elected, they get amnesia.
Right.
And I think we really, truly need to hold our public officials accountable. We take right now, and I was telling people how dangerous Donald Trump truly is. You have to look at these judicial appointments that he's making.
Right.
And when we get these cases, the Section 1983 cases, a violation of an individual's civil rights, these cases are going to federal court. They're going to the very place that Donald Trump is making. He's making all these appointments.
Right.
Now, these individuals, in most cases, think like Donald Trump. And we all know that Trump worships police officers. They are heroes to him. So in order to make yourself someone that Donald Trump would want to put on the federal bench, or to make yourself someone that he would potentially want to nominate to the Supreme Court, he has to really see that you're someone that has his type of mindset. And that's
right.
The most dangerous thing that we currently dealing with right now.
Right. So do you think social media and just the fact that, okay, now we can videotape what's going on, do you think that's led to an increase in the public awareness, seeing firsthand George Floyd get murdered by Derek Chauvin? Do you think that has played a part in the increase in these cases? They've been going back, since, for decades.
Rodney King,
right? So it's just like part of that was on video, but so what is different now? What's different? What has changed from then to now?
That's a great question. And I don't even know how to answer that, because for years we have been telling the community, we have been telling people that we have a serious problem. But unfortunately, I think our communities, to an extent, is as guilty as other people are when we're dealing with these cases, because people don't get excited about these cases unless there's a video showing the actual incident.
Right.
But as I say, for every George Floyd case that was captured on video, there are thousands of mothers and fathers who are begging for people to take their cases. But because they're not videoed, in most cases, attorneys aren't really interested in the case. The media is not interested in the case. So
right.
If nobody's talking about the case, it's very difficult to put the pressure on the city the way we need to. But I think with this pandemic, as bad as it is, I think it was almost a blessing in disguise, because we weren't dealing with sports. We should have been, when George Floyd was killed, we should have been in the middle of the National Basketball
play, right?
Getting ready for the playoffs,
right?
People talking about spring football, all the fun things that generally keep us distracted. But there was absolutely nothing to do. There was really no current television. The only thing that we saw current on television was the news. So when we had the George Floyd incident, I think it was an embarrassment to this entire country, because people had the opportunity to witness 8 minutes and 46 seconds of police brutality. And to
Exactly.
really see it in that vacuum, I think it made people understand and realize that we really do have a problem. And the thing about it, the way George Floyd was killed was basically in a manner that people took so much offense to Colin Kaepernick being on his knee. So this officer was on his knee when he took George Floyd's life.
Right.
So it was, it was poetic just to see how this all.
It's kind of like an oxymoron.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes. And now I turn on ESPN, and I'm seeing highlights from Major League Baseball, and everybody's taking a knee before the game. And I said, if everybody, we have to stop being so reactive. We have to be proactive, because being proactive saves lives.
Right.
And I often think to myself, if we would have done this 3-4 years ago, would Jordan Edwards be alive? Would Botham Jean be alive? Would Miss Jefferson be alive in Fort Worth? So it's just, we have to be proactive in this, and just to see the younger generation being involved, because they're the ones who are going to make the change.
That's exactly what I've been saying. I mean, I was out there marching, during the George Floyd protest here in Houston, Black Lives Matter protest. I was out there, but the majority of the individuals who are out there, like you said, are the younger generation.
Right.
And they're the ones they're actually going to make a change. They're going to push, for change, to make a difference. I mean, yeah, we're doing our part, but it's the millennials. I mean, and you can see that. And I tell everybody, this ain't the 60s. This is a whole different movement, a whole different mindset, a whole different mentality about what at the African American community is not going to tolerate anymore.
You're absolutely correct. Janine, we, here in Dallas, for the longest with police brutality cases, people thought that perhaps this was a South Dallas issue. A lot of people drive to North Dallas after work, and they're in the nice suburbs, gated communities, and they feel like, look, this is not our problem. So quite frankly, I don't really care. But after the George Floyd case, white kids, black kids, brown kids start asking questions.
Yep.
And they put their parents in some very tough situations, because these young kids say, no, I'm going out here and protest Black Lives Matter. So, as parents, when our kids start asking questions, and when our kids start saying, why do you look at this person because of the color of their skin? It forces parents to have to look at things a totally different way. And I think having people of different races coming together, I think that was the defining moment. That was the one thing that really put strength to this protest. I mean, it was not just about Black people. It was about everybody coming together and uniting. And as you know, during the Civil Rights Movement, although, it was primarily African Americans pushing for changes, we had our allies out there. And we have to have people working together to make changes. It's just no question. We can't do it alone. We need help.
I totally agree. And, I'm hoping that, we get to a point of where we stop talking about this problem, and that there are actually solutions and action is actually taken to bring about the change that we have been talking about for so long. It's just like, I know I'm exhausted. Right. I'm tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Right? You get in some instances you get the officers charged, but they don't get convicted.
Right.
So there's no deterrence. There's nothing to stop this type of conduct amongst police officers. And I mean, that's just the bottom line.
I mean, and Janine, the way I look at this is, that is the thing that is so exciting to to me as a lawyer, that we have the opportunity to make change. We have the, you
Absolutely.
know, all the things that we were taught in law school, how to fight. We actually able to bring this, you know, into real life. You know, it makes me appreciate professors like Russell Jones and
Absolutely.
Professor Diamond, and you know, all the professors that we felt that were extra tough on us. In actuality, they were preparing us for what we're dealing with right now. But
I
you know,
totally agree.
we have to continue to file these lawsuits. I know everybody's been talking about qualified immunity and how we need to get rid of it, and I 150% agree with it, because
Absolutely.
it's a deterrence.
It is.
When the Civil Rights Act, when Section 1983 all came about, as you know, that act came about when you had the newly free slaves that were coming out and they were being abused. So that act came out that it gave them the opportunity to be able to file civil action against state actors. But in that act of 1871, there was no provision in there that talked about qualified immunity. That
Right.
was a judicially made affirmative defense for police officers.
Right.
And as you know, all a police officer has to say is, I was in fear of my life. I thought he had a gun, or I thought he was harming someone else. So with qualified immunity, generally what tends to happen is that these judges give officers the benefit of the doubt. If the courts find that they are entitled to qualified immunity, then you don't even get to move from step A to step B, having that type of civil responsibility against an officer. So that's been the big fuss about it. I think whenever there's an officer involved shooting, I think there is so many facts that are involved in it that this should not be something that a judge decides as a matter of law. This should be something that goes in front of a jury, and they are able to make that determination. Quite frankly, I wish these cases did not have to go into federal court. I wish these cases were able
go
to be
right to state court.
Right to state court, and let the people in the city where the wrong took place make the decision, as opposed to going to federal court and you having to deal with people from all these counties who have never seen people who look like you and I in some cases, and police officers are heroes. Right. And as you can imagine, it is so very difficult to convince a jury to convict someone they see as heroes.
Exactly.
You know, because an officer get on the stand and they give the same testimony. I can almost say it by heart, but they get up there and I know they're going to cry, and they come back and talk about how difficult their jobs are. And I agree, their jobs are tough. All of our jobs are tough. Right. And then they go into that
stress.
They go into that little spiel that we just want to get home to our families. And somehow that just gets into the psyche of these jurors who see these guys as heroes. And it just makes things so very tough. Think about this, Janine, when we were in law school, all right? Most people had believed that O.J. Simpson had something to do with Nicole's death, all right? We all
I remember we were sitting around the TV in the lounge, the student lounge, I think it was, waiting for the verdict to come.
When we saw Johnny Cochran and all that, but when they came back with the verdict and they found O.J. not guilty, we all celebrated.
Yes.
Why? Because O.J. was our hero to most people. He was a celebrity. Most people viewed O.J. as that person running through the airport. Everybody loved O.J. All right, so you sort of forgot about what O.J. perhaps actually did. Exactly. And that's what we deal with when these jurors are looking at police officers. Because they are their heroes, they really forget sometimes of what they did. And in most cases, they get off. So, you know, I know when the officer got 15 years for killing Jordan Edwards, and when Amber Geiger got 10 years for killing both of them, I know most people felt like they should have gotten more time. Right. I was one of those individuals who felt that way. But the fact that we were able to get them put away for some time, I think it was an accomplishment.
Maybe that's the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
I think once we start getting more convictions of these officers, instead of just having charges filed and then they end up, basically getting off, hopefully that will start to deter or curb, the behavior that we have seen repeatedly, it seems like, over the past, 20 years.
Yeah.
At least from what I can remember.
Yes. And, the thing that I think we can do as attorneys, that we must do, is we have to continue to educate the community on the importance of serving on juries.
Exactly.
Because that is the one thing that hurts us a lot of times. I know whenever we gone through Vadar, I've looked at the jury pool and I see African Americans out there. I'm like, man, this is pretty good. We can have a diverse jury. And then this judge asked that one question. Is there any reason why someone can't serve on this jury? Please raise your hand. And I just put my head down because I know what's about to happen. And and over 90% of the time, we are the ones trying to get off the jury.
And so the very first episode interview that I did for my legal talk show, I interviewed Ben Crump.
Right.
And he said exactly the same thing. We have got to start showing up for jury duty.
We have to.
Period. You are saying the exact same thing, and I totally agree.
We have no choice at all. I tell jurors often, I say, service is the price that we pay for the space that we occupy on this earth. So we have to, that's our service.
Right.
We can't talk too much when we in Vadar. We can't talk about that uncle who got shot 30 years ago by a police officer or whatever. We can't give them a reason to strike us.
Right.
Give me let me be able to make a Batson challenge. All right. And say that, these attorneys are striking these people off just because they are African Americans. Don't, give them the opportunity to just strike you for cause because you don't want to serve on the jury because you want to go to Essence Festival or, you planning to go to the Bayou Classic. All of that stuff is fun, but I tell people all the time, just imagine yourself sitting at that table one day, and you need to have a fair and diverse jury. And you would truly understand how important it is. So I think when we have that time to talk to the community, I know when I have talked to the community about the importance of serving on the jury, most oftentimes they always say, hey, I never thought of it that way. I didn't realize how important it was to serve on the jury. So I think it's incumbent on us to educate them. They are the tools that we need in order to be successful for our clients. So we have to go to these churches, we have to go to these high schools, these colleges, et cetera, and just let them know we need them to serve on the jury. We're not saying that you have to automatically find in our favor, but I know that when we see a diverse jury, we feel like we at least have a chance. And that's all we want is a level playing field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They say a jury of your peers. Well, if you don't, fill out your jury summons and send it back and actually show up, that's never going to happen. And I'm the first one. Every time I get a jury summons every couple of years or whatever, I will fill it out.
Right.
I will go, I will sit. You don't want me, fine, but at least I can say that I showed up.
Absolutely.
And that's the purpose of my platform. I practice law, you practice law, but I want to educate, the people who are tuning in as to how the law works. Right? About what individuals can do, what we do, and how we can all make this work. So, at the end of the day, like you said, everybody has got to come together. Everybody has to do their part.
It's all legal too.
It is. It really is.
Yes. So, yeah, and I think the changes, again, the changes that we're going to make, we are setting the examples for the individuals who come in behind us. And
Right.
it's just exciting for me when I get calls. I mean, just last night, I got a email from a student at Plano Senior High on LinkedIn asking me, you know, if I could come be their mock trial coach. And I'm like, man, I just don't really have the time, you know, for it. But, you know, when they're reaching out and asking for us to do these things for them, I think we have to do it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I've always said the more we do for the younger generation, the more people we're going to have to take care of us one day. So
exactly. And
I
you know,
just
whatever
love
I
having
can
the
give back,
opportunity to
and
mentor.
like I said, yeah, I mean, that's what my goal is. I mean, I want to give back.
Right.
I mean, I've been practicing for 23 years, you know, and the practice of law has been good, but now it's time for me to give back.
Right.
To try to, you know, bring up the, like you said, the next generation of lawyers.
Right.
So whatever I can do to make that happen, that's what I'm trying to do. So, and I know you are doing the same exact thing.
You're doing it with your show. I mean, you're using this platform to bring people on to talk about these things. And, you know, oftentimes the only time people get the chance to hear attorneys talk and talk about legal issues or give any type of advice is when that meter is running. But to have them hear us talk about these issues and at least give them information that can be helpful, I think you're going to make a difference. So I'm honored to be on your show, you know, to be able to talk about these issues. I know we could probably talk the entire night.
There's so much to talk about.
It's so much. It's so much. You know, you can never talk about it in 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of times I feel like I'm cheating people because I start going all over the place because it's so much I want to try to share with people in a short period of time. Because I said, Janine, with my cases, I never get the chance. 99% of the time, I never get a chance to meet the person I'm actually representing or fighting for. You know, and I learned all these good things about them, you know, like with both of them. I said, man, I would have loved to have met this guy, you know, because you get to know him like I actually knew him.
Right.
And Jordan Edwards or Jermaine Dorton or Clinton Allen or Genevieve Dawes or Kavanaugh Walker, you know, or Deontay Yarber, Jermaine Dorton, Marquise Jones, Charles Roundtree, and Tronny Scott. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, I'm learning the names of these individuals who I never meet. And, you know, this job, like I say, as fulfilling as it is to be able to protect people's civil rights, the way I describe it sometimes, it's like almost attending a funeral every single day. When I talk to Raymond Barnett's mother today, the young man who was found dead in Iberia Parish Jail.
Right.
And just to see the grief that they're dealing with and to know that, what can I tell them? I mean, I can't say I understand what you've gone through.
Right.
I mean, the only thing I can tell them is I'm going to find out what happened. And just to see that look in a parent's face, just to see that look in a sibling's face, when you say, hey, I'm going to find out what happened, it's rewarding because that's a promise I'm giving to them. I mean, sometimes it might not always be the answer that we want, but I'm going to look into it and I'm going to dig into it. I'm going to make enough of noise about the situation that I will find something out, you know, and that's the part of it that makes me feel the very best. I can't bring their child back, but I can at least give them some comfort to know that we work hard for them and their kid means something to this world. So.
And I applaud you for that. I really do. I mean, you know, I've only had a couple of civil rights cases. You know, I represented an NFL player that got stopped by an officer last year, and it wasn't about money for him. It was to try to bring awareness that,
Right.
you know, this type of behavior by officers and racial profiling needs to stop before something like
Right.
George Floyd happened.
Right.
And George Floyd happened.
Right.
So, like I said, I applaud you for all that you do. You know, and I just hope that, you know, you continue to do what you do, and know that you are appreciated. Because like I said, I think one of the other driving forces for me is that I have a young man, a African-American young man that I, you know, have raised and are about to send out into this world. And I just don't want him to, you know, be the next George Floyd, basically. So I have a vested interest in this, as, you know, on a personal side as well as a professional side. So I just want to thank you so much for being on with me today, and for sharing the knowledge that you have. Would love to have you back anytime, because like you said, we can go
Anytime.
on and on. This is not going to be, you know, a one-time conversation. So you just keep fighting the good fight, sir.
I appreciate it. You continue to do what you're doing, because I say it all the time. It takes a team effort. When we all work together, when we all unite, I mean, we make changes. I say it all the time. African Americans we're undefeated when we work together.
Absolutely.
You know, the strength in numbers. And I think if we continue to have these conversations, because again, we won't have changes until we have conversations. And
Right.
to have conversations like this with It's All Legal 2, I think that helps, because people want to hear about these issues, and they want to hear what we're doing to bring about change. Because as I say, it all starts at the top. And unfortunately, we don't have a leader, somebody that can bring, you know, calmness to this country. You know, Trump could actually be a hero right now if this guy just had just an ounce of compassion for people. Because generally, during the pandemic, wars, or whatever, presidents have that moment, that opportunity. They have captured the attention of the entire country. And that's that one defining moment that they become heroes. And
Right.
we see that Trump doesn't care. I mean, this guy gets on Instagram or Twitter or whatever and fight with people. He fight with reporters. He belittle ladies. He just don't care. And I think he's inciting people who, I mean, have that racist mentality. So
Right. That
we
it's
just have to
gotten
get
worse.
we have to get rid of him. So
Well, everybody, please get out and vote. I mean,
please,
you know, I know that
please.
there is a pandemic going on. Wear your mask up, get out there, and please cast your vote. Because,
Please.
you know, like you just said, Daryl, that's the, you know, it starts from the top. And the way to bring about change is that we've got to vote these people out of office.
We have to. This vote is not about us. We have lived a long life. You know,
Yes.
something was to happen to us right now, today, we have had the opportunity to live some years. It's about our young, it's about our kids.
Absolutely.
It's about them. So we as parents, we as older generation, we have to get out there and vote in large numbers. Somebody was saying that we have to vote like our lives depend on it.
Well, they literally do right
depend
now.
on it. Yes, yes. This
For
is
more
life
reasons
and
than
death.
one.
Right, right.
Well, Daryl, thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, please come back anytime. And we will continue this discussion and try to figure out, you know, from a legal perspective and, you know, just an individual perspective, what we can do to bring about change.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right, my friend, you stay safe and we will definitely talk soon.
Sounds great, Janine.
All right, Dale, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.